Leaders from the Southern African Development Community have agreed to extend the deployment of troops in Mozambique to help the government there fight insurgents. Around 1,000 troops were sent by Rwanda last July at a time when jihadists were carrying out widespread attacks and seizing towns in the northern Cabo Delgado province.
Southern African countries agreed on Wednesday to extend their troop deployment in Mozambique, where the government has been fighting militants linked to Islamic State. The insurgency, centred on the northern Cabo Delgado province, has claimed thousands of lives since it broke out in 2017. Last year, a multi-billion-dollar liquefied natural gas project was brought to a halt when fighters attacked the town of Palma. Member countries of the Southern African Development Community agreed a 3-month deployment to Mozambique in June last year, which was extended in October. On Wednesday, after leaders met in Malawi, a communiqué said there had been good progress and that the mandate of the SADC mission had been extended. It did not say for how long. Rwanda, which is not an SADC member, has also sent troops. Mozambique's military had been losing ground against the insurgency until it accepted the help. Security forces say areas previously held by militants have been cleared and a number of insurgent bases destroyed.
Well, for an update, we're now joined by Colonel Ronald Rwivanga, who's the spokesperson for Rwanda's Defence Force. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Great to talk to you again.
Thank you, Peter.
So, SADC, the heads of state and government have decided to extend their mission in Mozambique. Is Rwanda doing the same?
Yes. In fact, recently, the heads of security organs of Mozambique were in Kigali a couple of days ago for a defense and security operation meeting to review the security situation in Cabo Delgado province in Mozambique after 6 months of joint operations with Rwandan security forces. Among the issues discussed were ways of strengthening the existing defense and security cooperation between Rwanda and the Mozambican security forces by adopting new strategies moving forward in as far as the next phase, which is stabilization and security sector reform is concerned.
How would you assess the deployment so far? What do you think you've been able to do?
You will recall that our joint forces were able to flush out Ansar al-Sunna terrorists from the 2 major strongholds, Palma and Mosimbo Adipre, and the terrorists have not been able to come back, which is a very good thing. So moving forward, we are now continuing with the next phase, which is stabilization and security sector reform, which is very important in the post-conflict situation. So we signed an agreement to expand the spheres of cooperation in both military and police affairs in as far as capacity building is concerned.
Are you concerned that we're seeing attacks in other areas now beyond Cabo Delgado and Palma?
Yes, we are, and that is why we've been working very closely with the SADC forces. I think you recall recently we had a joint meeting with them, and we discussed ways in which to improve intelligence sharing and specific leads whenever the insurgents cross into their areas of operation. So, so the cooperation is there. We are concerned, but we have limits of cooperation in as far as physically being in the sectors is concerned. So we are given 2 districts, Palma and Mosimbo Adipre, and unfortunately we cannot move into other sectors for now.
The sectors that you are working with the Mozambican Defence Force, are you saying that those areas are now secure?
they are secure, and if there were any incidences, you'd be hearing them. So there are no incidences in the areas that we occupy. You would have heard them by now.
I know it's probably difficult for you to comment on the SADC's operation, but you are cooperating with each other. Do you think that the number of troops on the ground is enough, given the huge land area that needs to be marshaled?
I think numbers are not really the issue. The issue here is the degree of intensity, the vigilance with which you operate, and the cooperation with other players. That's very critical in as far as dealing with insurgencies is concerned. It's not really a matter of numbers. Actually, the use of large forces is not as effective as using specialized units that can deal with the problem and maintain constant engagement with the enemy. You should not give the enemy breathing space wherever you operate. And that's very critical in counterinsurgency operations.
You talk about the next phase of the operation on the ground there. I'm just wondering, looking further afield, is it the plan to completely demobilize this insurgency? Because we've seen in other parts of the continent that they may be put down for a time, but somehow they go away, they regenerate or whatever it is that they do, and they come back. And that might mean you probably will be there for some time to come.
Well, it's very important to look at the post-hostility period, because it's important to rebuild lives. It's important to win hearts and minds, and that's very critical for any counterinsurgency operation. So we have to be much wider in looking at the solution. It should not be just the military solution. We should be able to start economic activities in Cabo Delgado. People have to continue with their normal lives, and we must be able to protect the citizens, the public, from any attacks, for them to win the trust and confidence in our joint forces. And this has to be done jointly with the Mozambicans. And that's why we are working so much towards building the capacity to maintain the status quo.
Why did Rwanda answer the call to go and help Mozambique? SADC has gone as a grouping, but you seem to be the only ones that have gone in there as a country to help your Mozambican brothers.
We were requested. That's the first issue. The second issue is that we signed the 2015 Kigali principles to protect civilians wherever we are called upon. And we have done it in CAL, we've done it in Mozambique, and even under the UN umbrella, we have done it in several other parts of the continent. So it is something that we set out to do, and we have a history where we were left alone by many players to deal with our problems. So we pledged not to ever do that to others. And that is the motivation that we have moving forward.
I heard the Minister of International Relations in South Africa saying that this was a regional problem and that there is a fear that this kind of insurgency and terrorism can spill over into other countries. We've seen countries like DRC troubled by cross-border activities. Is this something that you are worried about as well? And what can be done?
Absolutely. Islamic fundamentalism and extremism is an issue of international concern. It's not just regional. So we must partake in efforts to fight this vice, and especially when terrorism is involved. So this is something we should collectively work towards.
All right. And what do you think can be done to secure even the parts that you haven't been operating in. The SADC forces are busy working. Might you be supporting them there in the near future?
Well, that's something that our leadership would have to talk to their leadership about. So at this moment, we only talk about what we're doing. Okay. And our mandate is to cover the area that we are given. So yeah, that's something that should be discussed at the higher level.
Mozambican troops, they've struggled since 2017 to deal with this insurgency. How are you helping to capacitate them so that they're more capable in the future?
Specifics have not yet been properly outlined, but we've established a forum for discussions on areas where we can assist. And there are teams that will be, joint teams that will be established to determine areas where we can improve the capacity of the joint forces. So yeah, we're working on it.
Colonel Rwivanga, always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much indeed for joining us, and we wish you the best with your endeavors in Mozambique.
Thank you very much, Peter, and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you as well.